Figures published today suggest we're steadily becoming a more violent society. The Home Office says violent crimes have risen from just over 82,000 in 1977 to more than 141,000 last year. In England and Wales, violent offences rose 17% during the year to last June. But in London, the rise was 30%. The amount of violence reported inside the home, mainly against women, is also increasing. But that's partly because police are now taking it more seriously than ever before.
No one knows how many women are attacked by their partners. Traditionally, police have been reluctant to intervene. Their current training notes say usually no criminal offence is involved, even though it's a crime to inflict these kind of injuries, whoever does it. Pat Hayes was married for 18 years to a man she says broke her nose, kicked and punched her, attacked her with a pickaxe handle, fired at her with an air gun, and beat her and her 3 sons.
Why did you stay?
Because I was frightened, because he told us he would kill us. And I knew he would kill me, and perhaps Stephen, the youngest boy.
Did you ever try and call the police?
The police were called to the house before when I was younger and married to him. But I was too frightened, and they just said, oh, it's just domestic anyway, you can't interfere.
What kind of effect did his attacks have on the children?
I get a bit emotional about this, what happened to the boys, because I always feel guilty what I put my boys through. The 2 big ones were knocked from pillar to post when I was at work. When I was at home, I got it, but my 2 big ones have been knocked all over. My boy in Ireland is still frightened of his dad, and he's 21. And for a man of 21 to be still frightened, it's a bad thing.
What about you? Are you still frightened?
Yeah, terrified of him.
Pat's local police say domestic violence isn't much of a problem in their area. They don't keep separate statistics on it and couldn't find an officer prepared to be interviewed on the subject. A local solicitor says at best their policy is haphazard.
If the assaults took place in the street, it would be a far more serious matter. I still think that they see domestic violence in their home as a matter which is private and is a matter for parties to the marriage, and their place is not to interfere.
Do you think they fail women?
They fail many women.
But in other police forces, attitudes are changing. Chief police officers held a session on domestic violence for the first time this month, acknowledging that often they haven't taken women's complaints seriously.
Perhaps in some cases that's what the women perceive, because some of the women said, all I wanted was for the police officer to take it seriously. Now, one has to accept that if that's what they felt, then perhaps we weren't doing the job in the right way.
Domestic violence unit can help you.
One place where there has been change is London. This unit in Tottenham was set up last year. So far it's dealt with 1,000 cases. They treat domestic violence as a crime, help women gather evidence, go to court and get injunctions.
This weekend, has he assaulted you in any way? Right, did you go and see your doctor? Right, now it's very important that you do go and see a doctor. Right, every time you are assaulted, you must go and see him, get all the injuries recorded.
But those who see women in refuges are cautious about this unit's impact.
Since last June 1987, 300 women have been admitted to our refuge, and only 4 or 5 of those women have actually reported that the men were charged. So I think it still has a long way to go.
And society looks down on you. You take the shame. The abuser doesn't take the shame. Society doesn't blame the abuser. It blames the victim. Because you must have asked for it, you must have enjoyed it. Whatever happens to you, you must have enjoyed it or something, because why did you stay? But I don't know how frightened you are.
In the United States election, the polls still show the Democrat, Governor Michael Dukakis, with more than an 8-to-1 lead among black voters. In the South, the blacks are normally outvoted by very conservative whites, but they also matter in big northern cities like New York, Chicago and Detroit, where they look to the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
America's blacks, 11% of the electorate, are overwhelmingly Democrat. But that doesn't mean Michael Dukakis can rely on their overwhelming support.
People, let me tell you, nobody knows you.
When Mr. Dukakis passed Jesse Jackson over as his running mate 3 months ago, there was widespread disillusionment within the black community. Now there's widespread apathy about the election.
I'm not going to vote. I don't vote.
Why are you not going to vote?
It doesn't make a difference. Wouldn't do anything. Am I going to vote in the election? No, I'm not going to vote.
No, man, I done voted for the last 10 years, you know, and, you know, ain't no use.
Black and proud on the Hot 103.
The population in Kansas City, Missouri is 29% black. Voter apathy here could cost Michael Dukakis a crucial swing state, one of those he must win to reach the White House. When Lucille McReynolds, a veteran of the civil rights movement, set up shop to register voters in a black neighborhood supermarket, there were few takers. One survey predicts only half America's black voters will turn out to pick the next president. For those like Mrs. McReynolds who fought to win the vote, that's particularly painful.
I have a dream. You dreamed. You struggled.
The images of that struggle are now used in TV commercials urging blacks to exercise their democratic rights.
But in the last presidential election, 8 million black Americans weren't heard from. Vote.
Politically active blacks like this group in Missouri blamed the apathy on candidates who are focusing on floating white voters.
Each of the candidates believe that they have a great deal to lose in this particular election if they address issues that are of concern to blacks.
I think it's suicide for someone right now out there to start get too close to Jesse, too close to the black issues.
Jesse Jackson is now back on the campaign trail, beating the drum for Michael Dukakis. There's much ground to make up. Mr. Dukakis has 17% less support among blacks than Democrat Walter Mondale did 4 years ago. In a close race, that could make the difference between victory and defeat. Tim Hewitt, News at 10, Washington.
2 Soviet icebreakers are nearing the Arctic ice pack, where 2 whales have been trapped for more than 2 weeks. American scientists will fly to the ships to plan how to smash an escape route directly through the ice.
Helicopter, this is the Russian icebreaker, Admiral Makarov. How do you read me?
The 2 Russian icebreakers are now just offshore. At first light this morning, the scientist in charge of the rescue effort flew out for a meeting with the Russian captain of the larger vessel, the Admiral Marakov. The plan is to use the Russian vessels to punch a path through the pressure ridge, a huge wall of ice which forms a barrier between the whales and the sea. A survey of the ridge to find a suitable route struck water through only a foot or so of ice. This ended fears that the ice wall was solid all the way down to the sea bed.
It appears that most of the ridge has a current flowing through it and will make it easier for the icebreaker to work.
The party had taken an armed guard with them, but nevertheless they had to flee as a giant polar bear came within 200 feet of them. It's a constant danger around here.
The helicopter pilot, somewhat concerned about the bear, proceeded to fly what we call bear patrol for us while we did our measurements. The bear obviously got whiff of us. He was downwind, got our scent, and became very, very interested in coming to us. The helicopter tried to divert him. All they do is try to go around the helicopter to keep coming our way. When the helicopter got down, the bear at that time was about 200 feet from us.
The whales are still hanging on, but they're beginning to look tired, and the experts know they've only a limited time to effect the rescue. It's a story that has spanned the globe, thanks largely to TV pictures like these, which enable viewers at home to join an Eskimo family to view this once-in-a-lifetime situation.
Daddy, can we pass the whale?
Ken Reese, News at 10, Barrow, Alaska.
Ken Reese is there. Ken, is there real cooperation now between the Americans and the Soviets to save the whales?
Well, Alistair, there does seem to be total cooperation between the Soviets and the Americans here. The meeting with the captain of the icebreaker was delayed, but it should be taking place about now. The Americans have taken lots of satellite imagery of the area. They've taken maps, of course, and they're confident that these 2 Soviet vessels will be able to do the job, to clear out that channel and to get the whales out.
Ken, who's footing the bill for all this?
The question of cost is, of course, being raised. Some figures, as we've said, £500,000 for the cost of this operation. But, of course, the money is spread about. The military say it's training exercises they'd be doing anyway. The local council here, well, they've got a bit of a problem because they are said to have spent up to $300,000 but there is an appeal fund and money does seem to be coming in.
Do you think this is all being done now for the media, really, rather than any concern for the whales themselves?
Well, indeed, there are people who are saying that, but of course that is with hindsight. Now this thing has such a momentum that almost nothing can stop it. Children have been writing in from all over the world, as we've said. Generals, congressmen and senators have got families too, and there is this tremendous pressure from all those people and the worldwide audience for this operation that really this is only going to end when the whales either get free or if they have to give up because the whales are killed.
Thank you, Ken. Alistair.
2 drug runners caught red-handed by customs men on the River Medway in Kent have been jailed for a total of 11 years. David Mitchell and Patrick Solomon, who'd been under surveillance, were trying to bring in nearly £500,000 worth of cannabis from Europe. Half the consignment was seized, but they dumped the other half into the River Medway.
A customs launch patrols the River Medway. From Chatham in Kent, it's only a short hop over to Belgium, a tried and tested route for drug smugglers. For several weeks, customs investigators watched this floating restaurant after a tip-off that the manager, David Mitchell, codenamed Tango 1, was setting up a regular cannabis supply route.
Tango 1's on the pontoon. He appears to be using diving equipment, or putting diving equipment into the inflatable. Tango 1's out of the inflatable and back onto the pontoon, and he's going up the ramp towards his car.
Surveillance teams were watching this cabin cruiser as Mitchell and his crew brought the cannabis up the river. But as customs closed in, the crew panicked and threw the drugs into the water. In front of our cameras, customs officers called in police divers to search the riverbed. It was a slow and painstaking job. The bottom of the Medway's soft mud, visibility is nil. Eventually they found 50 kilos of cannabis resin. Customs believe as much again is still lying on the riverbed. Robin White, News at 10, Chatham.
Tonight, soccer, Barclays League Division 1, not London's night. Luton 1, Arsenal 1, Mr Venerable's Spurs 1, Southampton 2. In the second division, Birmingham at the bottom 0, Stoke 1, Palace 1, Unhappy Oxford 0, Hull City 3, Thrash Chelsea 0, Ipswich 0, Portsmouth 1, Oldham 2, Bournemouth 0, Plymouth 0, Shrewsbury 0, Sunderland 2, Blackburn the former leaders 0, Watford 4 and go top, Barnsley 0. In Division 3, Bristol City 1, Aldershot at the bottom 1, Bury 3, Southend 1, Chesterfield 2, Brentford 2, Fulham 3, Northampton 2, Huddersfield 1, Swansea 1, Preston 5, Gary Brazil got 3 of them, Gillingham 0, Wigan 1, Bolton 1, Wolves 2 and they go second, Blackpool 1. In Division 4, Cambridge 2, Scarborough 2, they're now equal top. Carlisle 0, Burnley 0, Crewe 2, Grimsby 2, Darlington at the bottom 0, Torquay 0. Halifax a night out 5, Peterborough 0, Leighton 4, Exeter 0, Rotherham 2, they're clear at the top, Colchester 0, Scunthorpe 3, Wrexham 1, York 1, Doncaster 1.
And the main points again. Mr Kinnock twice called the Prime Minister a cheat for refusing to say if child benefit was to be uprated. He later withdrew the remark at the request of the Speaker. The government has just won the debate on the economy with a majority of 109. And Mrs Thatcher says in tomorrow's Times that she'll definitely lead the Conservatives into the next election.
Finally, Mr Brian Horton, Oxford United's brand new manager, was at Selhurst Park tonight to watch his team lose 1-0 to Crystal Palace. His predecessor, Mr Mark Lawrenson, was fired today by Oxford's chairman, Mr Kevin Maxwell. Mr Lawrenson said he hadn't been consulted over the sale of a player to Derby County, whose chairman is Mr Kevin Maxwell's father, Mr Robert Maxwell.
Mark Lawrenson came to London to sort out his future, but quickly discovered he hadn't got one with Oxford United. His showdown meeting with the chairman had lasted only 5 minutes. Before he'd had time to resign, he'd been fired. But as the ex-manager vainly tried to drown his sorrows, he left behind a familiar story of boardroom intrigue. Lawrenson was angry that his key striker, Dean Saunders, had been transferred to Derby without his agreement. The twist in this story was that Oxford's chairman had sold the player to his father, the chairman of Derby, Robert Maxwell. It was the second player he'd lost by the same route. Minutes after the ex-manager's hasty departure, Mr Maxwell's son appeared with the club's new boss. Lawrenson's former assistant, Brian Horton, got the last thing he needed.
We have, as I said, great confidence in Brian. And Brian has told me how pleased he is to be back in management, although he's sad at the circumstances, and confirmed that Mark Lawrenson had asked him to stay. Thanks very much. Come on, Brian.
And with that, he was led away, his loyalty to Mark Lawrenson still intact.
He knows his football. He's football through and through, isn't he? He's got a great name in the game.
been a top-class player. Yeah, I wish him well, obviously, and I shall be having a meal with him Thursday night, and no doubt he'll be asking me about tonight's game.
But there was to be no happy ending for Oxford tonight. They were beaten by a late penalty at Crystal Palace. Peter Staunton, ITN Sport, Selhurst Park.
And that's it tonight. Good night.
Good evening. As you may have heard on ITN, councillors in Bradford have been meeting since 4 o'clock to consider a radical package of cutbacks. Thousands of town hall workers demonstrated outside the council building this afternoon to protest the proposals, which include selling some old people's homes and raising rents. Chris Kitty is outside the council now with the latest news.
Well, the debate, now 6.5 hours old, is still going on. At times, these scenes inside the council chamber have been chaotic. It's developed into a slanging match sometimes, with shouts of Sieg Heil from the Labour benches and constant interruptions from the public gallery. The man most under fire has been the Conservative Lord Mayor, Councillor Smith Midgley. It's his casting vote that the Tories are relying upon to get their plans to cut nearly £6 million from the budget, a move which could lead to the loss of up to 9,000 jobs, Labour say, through the council tonight. The Tories have lost only one vote so far. That in effect means there'll be no compulsory redundancies. Though at the end of the day, or it could be the early hours of the morning now, the Tories are likely to get their plans through the council. And with that news, it's back to the studio in Leeds.
Chris Kitty there reporting live from Bradford. A murder trial has been told how a 17-month-old Gainsborough baby suffered multiple injuries allegedly at the hands of his stepfather. Sammy Connell received more than 100 bruises to his chest and stomach and also sustained a fractured skull and jaw. The prosecution at Nottingham Crown Court said that the boy had been dragged along like a toy doll and thrown with considerable force against a hard object. 19-year-old Andrew Hansen denies murder last November. A Doncaster mother has pleaded with the estranged father of their 14-month-old twins to return the boys after he snatched them from her at the weekend. The mother has custody of the children who were taken during a weekly visit to see their father in the town centre. Barbara Govan sends this report.
It's 2 days since 20-year-old Louisa Martin has seen her twins, Nathan and James. They were snatched by their estranged father, 28-year-old Michael Neville, during a weekly access meeting at a Doncaster cafe. He's telephoned twice since then to a home at Bolby near Doncaster, claiming the children are well, but he won't reveal where they are. Now their mother can only appeal to him to bring them back.
He doesn't really know what they have for breakfast, or he hasn't got any bottles or toys or any clothing for them. You know, nothing like that at all.
The 1988 Poppy Appeal was launched in Leeds today with the help of Olympic gold medalist Adrian Morehouse. Adrian was in Leeds at the Victoria Gardens along with dancer Sophie Pycroft, who is this year's Miss Poppy. They handed out poppies to start off the appeal, which should raise thousands of pounds for ex-servicemen's charities. And that's it from me for tonight. Now it's time for the weather prospects from John Cross.
Well, rain will affect all parts of the region at times overnight, with patches of fog over the higher ground, but minimum temperatures will hold up at 12 centigrade, 54 Fahrenheit. Much of the area will also stay cloudy tomorrow, with further outbreaks of rain, especially in the morning. Over Lincolnshire and the southeast, it will become dry, and some brighter intervals are likely in the afternoon. The maximum temperature is 15 centigrade, which is 59 Fahrenheit, with a moderate and occasionally fresh southern